This video is going to look at iTunes 11 in particular, just the setting up of the preferences, the settings, the home sharing and some of the menus of iTunes. It's not going to look at how you actually add media to iTunes or how to synchronize your iPad with iTunes. That will be in a later video. So this is iTunes 11. And really want to look at once you've installed iTunes 11, and it actually won't look like this. It will come with the status bar. Was it sidebar? The sidebar will be hidden. So it'll come like that, and this is the new iTunes, and you select from that menu what you actually want to look at. Now, personally, I don't like that. I like to have the sidebar visible. So that's the first thing I would do, go to View and Show the Sidebar. And we'll come back and look at the other view options in a moment. So in iTunes, Preferences, there are a number of things that I would be selecting as a default to allow the iTunes to do the best job possible. So the library name, and this one is iTunes on my MacBook Pro, where you can change the name of that if you want to. And in your library, what do you actually want to show? And I've selected all of them because I do have all that sort of media in my iTunes library. All of that is selected because I want to be able to show that in the iTunes library that is on this machine. And I don't change anything else. This one here, when you insert a CD, so if you're trying to rip your music from CDs, if you put the CD in the computer, then you have some options. Import the CD, which is generally what I want to do. If I'm putting a CD in the computer, then I want to get the tracks off that CD and into a digital format to save on my hard drive and use in iTunes. So I want iTunes to automatically import that CD and rip those tracks for me. As well as that, retrieve the CD track names and any other metadata from the internet. There are some import settings that you can change. I actually don't bother with changing any of this, and I leave everything at its default. So don't touch that. But they're the settings that I would use in the general. In the playback, preferred video version, if I'm going to be watching video or downloading video, I want it to be in high definition at 1080p, and you've got some options there. It's the default one, I think, so I just left that and I didn't touch anything else. Sharing, if you have more than one computer in the house that has iTunes running, you can share your libraries, your local libraries, on your local network. So you can indicate in this tab whether you want to share your entire library that's based on your hard drive or just share a selected playlist from your hard drive, from your local library to anybody else. And they can indicate if they need a password or not. And for me, I've just shared my entire library from this local machine, my MacBook Pro, on my local network. So the other computers in the house, there are 2 iMacs, there's an iPad, there are 2 iPhones. They can all share that one library, particularly as the whole library is stored on a network-attached storage device. It's not on one single device, my main iTunes library. So you've got to decide. I can just share a selected playlist, or I can just share my TV shows. I've elected to share the entire library. But you need to be able to share, I believe. For the store, well, I think everything here was the default, except for the middle one, the automatic downloads. Whenever I buy something new on iTunes, in my iTunes account, then I automatically want whatever I've bought from that. If I bought it on the MacBook Pro, then I want the other other iTunes libraries to be able to automatically receive that song or that app or that book, so I don't have to download it on each machine separately. I want to show my purchases that I've made, iTunes in the cloud. I want to show them. I want to be able to sync the playback across all the devices that I use it. Download the album artwork so you have that full metadata associated with your piece of media. Share details about my library. Well, I could probably turn that off, but I've left it on. It doesn't really matter. And when I download high definition videos, so I'm buying a movie or a TV show, then I prefer it to be in 1080p, the highest definition that I can get. And if I've already bought something and I've bought it from a mobile device, then it's going to check for me and download and just check my purchases to make sure that anything there that I've bought has been downloaded to the machine that I'm working from. Parental settings. Now, given that we don't have any kids in the house, I haven't changed anything, but you can restrict certain things. So if you just want movies with a PG rating, you can select it there, and then you have to select the country that you want those ratings to reflect. So if for Australia, you've got PG, and all the other ratings there. You can block out all of the things you don't want your children or grandchildren to see. And you can disable certain things from being played. So you can disable shared libraries altogether if someone in the house has got a library which hasn't got suitable content. You can disable access to the iTunes store and to the radio stations, to podcasts. So you've got to make some decisions there. And when you finally have, you click the lock there, and that'll prevent any further changes. Once you put in your iTunes password, no one else will be able to make any changes to those parental settings. Devices. This sort of indicates what devices have been synchronized to this particular computer. So I have a phone that's been synchronized with this iTunes library. The iPad that we also have is synchronized to another iTunes library, as well as another computer as well. If you have any remote speakers and you want to be able to control the volume on those speakers, then you need to select that. So if you don't, then the only way you can change the audio is by actually getting up and going to the computer that's running the iTunes and selecting the volume from that. And pair it with any remote. So if you're using a remote, so either Romote or any other remote that might work with iTunes, you need to pair it. You'll also see that there with devices. Advanced. And this one I do change on the other machine that I have that's running iTunes. The iTunes library on the iMac is saved to a network attached storage device that is on the local network. So I have changed the location of the iTunes library on the other machine. This one is going to the default location. It's going to my music folder. And if we have a look at where it actually is going, it's going into my music folder. There is an iTunes. If I close it up, there's an iTunes folder there. And inside that is where all the libraries stored. This is where it's pointing to. That's the iTunes library file there. That's the file that holds all the information about the settings, the playlists, the information on the media that's in this iTunes library. The actual songs and TV shows, etc., are in another folder. So there's your movies and your podcasts and TV shows. So the music here was stored in here. That's local. That's saved onto this machine. Podcast, if there are any podcasts, that's saved onto this machine. So that iTunes creates that. If you allow iTunes to manage your media, it will create all those folders for you. And if you create a Genius playlist, which we'll look at later, or turn Genius on, or you do anything else to iTunes, that's all stored here. And in the iTunes Preferences Advanced, this is where you say to iTunes running on your local machine, where do I find the iTunes library? I can change it. So clicking on Change, I could perhaps go on to point it at maybe the iMac folder, which is my other computer. I might point it to the library on that one, or I might point it to, I'm not sure if this one will work, but this is the, that doesn't like that. I can point it to another direction and change where I want the iTunes to find my library. And at the moment, I am not going to do that. I'm going to leave on this MacBook Pro the iTunes library will be found in my local folder, in the music folder, inside the iTunes folder, and I've actually it's left that alone. That's just the default. But you change where you want it to point. So if you have a network attached storage, a NAS device, you can point every single iTunes library in your home, whatever it's running on, they all can be pointed to the one iTunes library. I like to keep the iTunes media folder organised, so I like to let iTunes manage all the media, create the folders for me and the subfolders, and label it how it wants. I like it can do it all. And when I'm adding anything to the library, so I might add a movie or a song, that I want that file to be copied to the iTunes media folder. So everything is in the one place. There is a mini player, so instead of having this quite large iTunes program, I can just create a little mini player, and we'll do that from another menu later. So it just has the playback controls. But and you can reset that too. The main thing on advanced is to set your media folder location and ensure that you click those. If you want to manage it yourself, you could. I've just found that with iTunes as my main media manager, I prefer to let it do all of that. And then OK to accept all your changes. And these are the main preferences that you would change. Let's look at the other menus up here. In the File menu, the thing that you might look at is home sharing. So if you have more than one iTunes library and you want to share those across computers, so I can actually log into the iMac library, which is my iMac machine, and I can see all the media that's in the iTunes library on that machine. I can play it, I can import it into my machine, but you have to turn that on. So home sharing, mine's turned on, so you have to turn it on with your iTunes account. Any devices that are attached already, and I don't have anything attached at the moment, you can start to sync from here or transfer any purchases from that device into your iTunes account. The actual library, you can organise your library. If it wasn't set up how you'd really want to, you could organise it. You can export it as a backup. You can add to the library. So if I wanted to add to that library a new movie, which I should have on the desktop, there was a movie that I just have created, which is this one. So it's just a small MP4, and I want to add that into my iTunes library. So I can select it and open, and that is going to import into the movies folder. And it's going to come in here. I haven't got a lot on here, so I'm going to list them. Let's see if it comes in. So there it is there, Living in a Connected World, Part 1. It's just a little movie. And if I wanted to, if it wasn't in the right place, then I can right-click on it, get info, and put in some additional metadata to put it into the right place. Because often it might not be, it puts it where it thinks it might go, but I want it to go into a TV show perhaps, and I don't want it to go in movies. I can do and get info, and I can change and put in some metadata myself. So that, any details about shows, or in this case, I want to change this one to be a TV show, not a movie. And I'll leave everything else alone. But you can download the artwork. If you haven't actually bought it from iTunes and it's something you've done, you have to create all the metadata yourself. Then OK. And it's going to disappear from the movies section, and it's going into the TV show, and it was called Living in a Connected World. Just sort that by name so we can find it. And there it is there, Living in a Connected World. Now, I haven't put enough metadata in there. I really would have to go and do a little bit more on that. But that's where I'll find it, and then I can play it from here. Anyone else who's got access to my library can also see that and import it to their library. The other way of adding to the library was just simply finding it on your desktop and dragging it in. If you had whole folders of things, then you can add to the library and select a whole folder. Anything else in a file that's important? No. Edit? No. View? View is where you can hide and show your sidebar. So I'm going to hide the sidebar. But to me, I just don't like that. I'm used to the sidebar. If I haven't got it, I have to go find everything from here. So I'd rather show it. So view, show the sidebar. The status bar is this bar down the bottom here. At the moment it's shown. So it shows how many TV shows are in that, the TV show section, and how much storage that they would take up. And a lot of these TV shows are not actually on my local machine. They're TV shows that I've actually purchased from iTunes, and they are available from the cloud. So you can see the cloud there. They're available from the iTunes library. They're my purchases. If I want to watch them, I'm going to have to download them or stream it. So if I wanted to watch this particular episode of Doctor Who, I can click on that and it will start to download that episode to my hard drive, because at the moment it's up in the cloud, so you can sort of see it's starting to do it now. It's high definition, so it's going to take a while. 53-minute episode, so you can turn that on and off. Hide TV shows in the cloud. If I do that, then there's the only thing that's actually on my machine is that movie I just imported. Everything else, all the TV shows that I've purchased from iTunes, are all in the cloud, and I can see what they are in case I forgot, and I can download them. If I wanted to see what TV shows were available in the shared library, there's the shared devices. So I have that's the NAS device there. That is the shared library on another machine in a different room. So this is from the iMac computer. So if I click on that, it's going to, through the local network, load the iTunes library of the other machine, and that computer has to be on to see the library on the iMac. The DNS323 is a NAS device, and that doesn't have to be on because that's attached into the router. It's always on. These are the media that's on the other machine. There's a lot more media on the other machine, and you can sort it by name. You can sort it by show if you want all your TV shows together, and indicating there it's a TV show. It's not up in the cloud, so if I wanted to watch that one, I could just double click and it should start to play. It's streaming across the network, and again, it depends on how fast your network is for that to work effectively. If your network's not too fast, or the router is too far away, then you're going to get a lot of lag, and that's going to start playing that TV show. Let's close it down before it deafens us. And you can sort them by different ways. So just by clicking on the top of the label, we'll sort them by artist, sort them by show. And if you right-click up there, you can sort them by different other criteria as well. And that's why home sharing is useful. If I wanted that episode, the All Creatures Great and Small, I'll pick All Saints. So if I want that one, it's on the other machine, but if I want it myself, I can right-click and I should be able to import it. No, down here. That's the episode on the other machine. Down here, I can import that episode onto my local library rather than use it on the sharing. What else in view is it? So you can hide the status bar, and now that information's all gone. I find it's useful, so I'm going to show the status bar. You can show a visualizer, so when you're playing something, it's just going to, some background stuff that will accompany your songs. Hide it off, turn it off. The controls for your playback controls, actually never fiddled with those. I usually just use these things. The store, so if you have an iTunes on your computer, then you have an iTunes account. And if you want to shop in the iTunes store and purchase stuff from the iTunes store, then your computer needs to be authorized to play that content. You can authorize 5 computers to play iTunes content, and this one's authorized, even though it says it authorized this computer. It is authorized, and you need to remember to deauthorize the computer if you actually get another one, because this, if I got rid of this MacBook Pro, got a new one, it still is the computer that's authorized, so I have to deauthorize it before I can authorize it. You can see your Apple ID, you can sign out and sign in with another account. You can check for any old downloads that you purchased that haven't been downloaded. You can turn on iTunes Match, so if you've subscribed to the music component for the cloud from iTunes where all your songs are saved up in the cloud and stored in the cloud, and you don't have to keep all your music on your local machine. You can turn it on there. You can turn on and off Genius, which matches what you've got with similar media. You can turn all that on and off from the store. If you want to see the mini player, there's the mini player. It's just that bit, and then I can get rid of the rest of it, show you my messy desktop, and then get it back. So the mini player is just a little, it just has all the controls, and then you can minimize the rest of it. So I don't tend to use that. You can switch to the mini player that way. So they're all the menus. Now, what else have we got along the sidebar? So if you show the sidebar, you can access all the different media types quite simply here. So if I want to get any apps, then the apps will show up. So I can purchase apps from the iTunes store, and then when I synchronize my phone or iPad, those apps will then be transferred over to that device. And you've got books and iTunes U. It tells you how many episodes of everything you've got, and it tells me how many TV shows I've got in the cloud. I think that I've purchased in the cloud, and it shows the cloud next to it. And any music, so I've got some music on here. I've got some music in the cloud, and because I use iTunes Match, a lot of my music is there. So if I wanted that particular song, I would have to download it from the cloud, and it would then reside on my machine. I can delete it from my machine because I'm still going to be able to get it from the cloud. There's some duplicates there as well, so I can right-click and delete that song and move the file to the trash. That one's up in the cloud actually, that's why I didn't move. That one I can get off. So if I deleted that one, then I've still got access to that song because it's in the cloud up here. So if I decided I do want to play that song, I can just download it, and it will download that song to the iTunes library, and I can then play it from there. Here is a link here to the actual iTunes store. So if you click that, it's going to give you, or send you to the iTunes store where you can search the store and buy whatever media you want. Search bar up here. The purchased will give me an idea about exactly what I've actually purchased in iTunes. So if I wanted to see what I've bought from this account, 79 songs have been purchased from iTunes. Some of them have been ripped from CDs, so you can get a shortcut there to what you've actually purchased, so you don't have to actually buy it twice. The shared library, so if you've turned home sharing on, you'll see your shared libraries. The only way I'm going to see iMac is if that machine, the iMac computer, is turned on, which it is, and I can eject it if I don't want that one to be shared anymore, and that's the NAS device, always on. In the for playlists, some of the playlists already come there, come with iTunes, but I've create my own. So for this one, I actually wanted to make a little movie and have some trailer music. So I found some music that was appropriate, created a playlist, and dragged all the songs from the music part. So if I went to sort by artist, and I know this is the trailer music by this artist, that I could click the first one, hold the shift, hold the last one, and then drag that into whatever playlist I've created. The songs will still stay in the music library, and I can delete that completely. I can delete them all now. Hold them all down. What should go from this one? Hold that one, hold the shift, and right-click, and delete, and remove them from the playlist. So they're not there, but they're still here. So I can go back to music and find them again. I want all of those songs in the playlist. So they're all highlighted. There's the playlist. I'm just going to drag them in, and there they are again. So it's a way of filtering and managing all your music. So playlists are created down here. So you can create a new playlist. You can put them into a playlist folder. A smart playlist will give you criteria to actually find information, metadata that you want to actually put into your playlist. Let's cancel that, and that one. You can burn the playlist to a CD if you're still actually playing CDs. Export the playlist. There's a play up next, so up here will tell me what's the next bit of media that's going to be played. It's looking at TV shows there. If I want to clear that, it's looking at the last thing here. So say I pick this song and pick a song and add to up next. So up here is the next song that's going to play. So every song here, I can sort of look at it and think, I want that song to play next, so I'm going to add to up next, and then I can move them around if I want to rearrange them. So it's sort of, you can build a playlist on the fly. There's a search bar up there too if you're looking for media. The main thing in terms of using iTunes as a media manager is going through every one of these menus and just tweaking everything and putting all your media into it and using it as a media manager. Okay, that's all.